Hello. We are back for another episode of Ditch Witch Diaries, and we are going to be focusing on kitchen herbs, and we're looking at spices. So, yeah. So this week we're talking about spices. So,
Okay, I'll start. Hold on. Let me.
I was going to tell you about the empanada story. We go to Disney, me and my son go to Disneyland all the time, and we go to these festivals at DCA, California Adventure. And there was the disappointment of the last festival. I think it was the California Food and Wine was the empanada. It was not the best empanada. It did not score well with me. Actually, the number one food of the festival season was the Chinese Lunar New Year festival. It was the spicy chicken. It was very, very crispy. It was crispy as can be. It was very good. So nice. Anyway. So on to spices. Out of empanadas.
Yeah. Hold on, it's not giving it full screen. Let me try that again. We're gonna start with cayenne.
Woo!
Spicy cayenne. All right. So a couple things. Botanical name is Capsicum annuum, usually. Now, there is a cayenne pepper, and originally cayenne powder was made with the cayenne pepper, but in the last 100 years or so, it's been a mix of a bunch of different peppers. So we'll talk about that. So this is mostly going to be focusing on the cayenne pepper, but just know that when you're buying cayenne as a spice, it might not just be cayenne pepper. So parts used are the whole fruit, the fruit being the pepper itself, and this can include the seeds. You basically just roast it and then grind it up. So folk names: Indian pepper, Indian meaning New World rather than from India. African pepper, American red pepper, Spanish pepper, Guinea pepper is the most common alternate name. And then in Mexico, oftentimes it's just referred to as Chile. And then in France, I don't know.
Do you know French, Roz?
Oh yeah.
Roz? No.
Let's see. Let me see. Where is it? Poivre. Poivre means pepper. Poivre de Cayenne.
No, what is the first one? Capsicum?
Yeah, probably capsicum.
Capsicum. Oh, yes. Capsicum. Capsicum. Or Poivre de Cayenne.
And then in German, Schlottenpfeffer. I would imagine is how you would say that.
I love that one, actually. That's a great one.
I've been taking German on Duolingo for 3 years, and I can barely get by. Okay. So it's a type of Capsicum annuum. So are bell peppers, jalapenos, pimentos, a bunch of other ones. But you'll see where I found that a lot of people refer to cayenne as Capsicum annuum, which is not accurate because that's a whole family of things. And so I say that here, a lot of times people can just refer to that as the general term if they don't know which peppers specifically are going to go into the cayenne powder, or if they're just referring to hot peppers in general, then they might just refer to them as the annuum. So capsicum is the nightshade family, which we love, right? We have datura and belladonna, which are the two most beautiful witchy plants, but also eggplants, potatoes, tobacco, and petunias are in that same family. Now, cayenne peppers are often said to belong to the fruitines family or variety, but now there has been a distinction made where these peppers of the fruticines variety, whatever, they grow upright on the plant. So you'll find them growing basically upside down on the plant. And cayenne peppers don't do that. They grow like bottom down basically. And so they used to be categorized with all of these other like Thai red peppers, like chili peppers and stuff. But now we like differentiate them. So Culpepper talks about cayenne as a synonym for pepper Guinea, which is where we get the term like Guinea pepper or Guinea cayenne from. But then later on, Guinea pepper meant like bird's eye chili or the pre-pre. And you'll find that bird's eye chili is the second most common chili pepper used in cayenne powder alongside the actual cayenne pepper.
Interesting.
Yeah. So in the 19th century, they were classified as longum, which was later meant the same thing, same classification as the fruitinas, which is the upside down ones. But again, we find that cayenne powder is often made from bird's eye pepper. And so now the cayenne pepper and the bird's eye pepper are Capsicum annuum, which is the name that I put on our little thing right here.
Nice.
Okay, so this is just a list of all of the peppers that we find are commonly used in cayenne powder. So I'm not going to go through all of them because there's a shit ton, but it's mostly, like I said, the actual cayenne pepper and the bird's eye pepper are the big ones, but there's a ton of other peppers that can be used in like kitchen cayenne. And then also most of the cayenne pepper varieties are red, but some are yellow, purple, and then we used to have some that were, or the most common color was actually yellow. And then we found that it kind of transitioned to red towards the end of the 19th century. Okay, so according to historians, South American soldiers in the 16th century would burn peppers to use the smoke to protect them from the invading Spanish soldiers. And then during the Vietnam War, Buddhist monks armed themselves. We know that monks are nonviolent typically, but when they needed to protect themselves, they would mix this mixture of lemon juice, curry powder, and cayenne, and basically spray anybody who tried to come and like attack them or like take their land.
That's funny.
I know. Yeah. So in Ethiopia, the national dish is called wot, which is also known as cayenne porridge, and it's like the whole process. So you use salt and powdered cayenne peppers are mixed with some pea or bean meal, which is made into this paste called dillik. And then they often will put that in a gourd. So they'll hollow out a gourd, they'll put it in the gourd and then hang the gourd. And then they'll just use like a little bit of a time. And when they're ready to use it, they'll take some, add some water, bring it to a boil, and then usually add some things, usually chicken. So chicken is the most common other ingredient that's added. And it looks like this, which looks pretty tasty if I ate chicken.
If I was a meat eater,
if I was to eat chicken, that would look pretty good.
There was that would be, yeah, that might be something that might look good if I were if I was a rich sorry.
Okay, so cayenne was introduced to the UK from India. It's estimated in about 1548, and it's been used pretty much all over the world for a lot of different reasons. We see it used in Greece and Italy and Russia, and especially in Russia, we find that the cayenne would be like either chopped or like ground and steeped into vodka, and then they would just drink that as in a wine glass, so like a wine glass full of that as like a general tonic, which sounds spicy. Now there is this like lore that said cayenne peppers were originally used for Tabasco. So I give you like the story here. The story is an American soldier returned from the Mexican War and brought some pepper seeds to like this guy, Edward. And the guy was in Louisiana and he planted them and they grew. So then he made some sauce from the peppers, and the sauce was great, but then he left Louisiana. When he came back years and years later, he found that the pepper plants were still like just flourishing. And so he made the sauce again and then marketed it and started selling it. And this became Tabasco. Now, unfortunately, Tabasco was not made from cayenne, like a lot of people say it was. It's made from the fruticins, which is the upside down peppers. So it's not cayenne, but a lot of people talk about cayenne as like the original pepper used in Tabasco.
I've been through that original Tabasco plant in Louisiana. It's very interesting. Yeah. It's very
interesting.
cool.
I'm not a big Tabasco. I love hot sauce, but Tabasco is a bit too like vinegary for me, but I appreciate like the history surrounding it. I mean, I don't know.
I like Tabasco. See, I like Tabasco. I'm a Tabasco person. That's delicious.
I like Cholula. That's my favorite.
Oh, I like that too. Yeah.
So good. Okay, so then we have Samuel Thompson, who is said to be one of the original like physician, like plant medicine physicians. Was he the original? I don't know. I haven't looked that far back, but it said that he was one of the original, and he created this composition powder. And he said that composition powder could be used to prevent and treat colds, sore throats, flus, respiratory infections, and congestion. So anything that's like chest, head area. And so he created these like heating, warming spices that is said to help bring up the body's like internal temperature to kill off all these pathogens. Now, I had to look high and low for this recipe, and some different places give slightly different recipes, but the general consensus seems to be this. So a teaspoon of ground ginger, this is all powdered, by the way. So a teaspoon of ground ginger, teaspoon of cinnamon, teaspoon of cloves, half a teaspoon cayenne, and then half a teaspoon licorice root. And so you take this, so it's all powder, you mix it up, and then when you need it, you add half a cup of boiling water to an 1/8 teaspoon of this powder, let it kind of sit and infuse for a minute, and then you drink it while it's still hot. I have not used this, so I cannot attest to its benefits, but it seems like it would probably taste good. It looks like it would taste a little spicy and maybe kick that stuff to the curb.
Yeah.
Okay, so records indicate that we've been using cayenne for a long time. So we have found it in like fossil feces and like human dwellings and living areas dating back as early as 7,000 BCE. Oh, that got cut off. It's supposed to say, I deleted it, that's why.
Oh.
And I moved it down. It's that in and around Mexico that I said right there. Okay. Oh, see, now it works.
Yay! Look, there we are. We're back.
So weird.
I
know. So it's believed that it was first cultivated around like 5,200 to 3,400 BCE in and around Mexico. And like in the South American Huaca Preta, we find that it's been there. We like can date it back to like 2,500 BCE. So we find it kind of a little bit all over the place, mostly in like the Americas and especially Central America. Now it's believed that it was introduced to Europe by Peter Martyr. What a last name, by the way. Who is the
what a legacy to live up to.
Yeah. I mean, he was with Columbus, so you know.
Yeah, maybe not that hard. Actually, he's on the right road.
Yeah. So he accompanied Columbus to the New World, where we hopefully kind of know the story of Columbus, at least in general. They were, supposed to go to Spain. And so this guy, Peter Martyr, brought it with him and introduced it to Europe when he was like traveling with Columbus. Now, as for lore, I have kind of a hard time separating lore from history typically we talk about lore in terms of like deities and stuff, but I this week decided to talk about lore in terms of like magical uses that I myself am not familiar with. So like we can talk about ancient uses, but also you'll see this more like in my next one. Any time that it's used like magically that is not from an area that like I come from, I'm tying that into lore. So the Mayans and the Aztecs used cayenne as a tonic for the heart, kidneys, lungs, pancreas, spleen, and stomach. And they also used it to help protect against senility, right? Like being senile, and also to increase fertility. Now, so Fuentes Guzman wrote that people who frequently ate the pepper were protected against poison. And the Incas actually prohibited the use of the cayenne chilies at initiation and funeral rites. I could not find why they did not allow, why it was prohibited.
Interesting.
Yeah, and I looked, I mean, I don't have like books specifically on like Inca like history or anything, but from when I looked at the internet, couldn't really find anything. But I did find that the peppers in general, like spicy peppers, are associated with lightning bolts. So I don't know if it was like believed that if you ate them, maybe lightning would disrupt like the initiation. I'm not sure, but that's what I found. Okay, so this is interesting. So there was there's Inca story that was written by the Spaniard Juan de Betanzos, which is called The Narrative of the Incas. And this included a story of the Ayar brothers and some places associated. So the lore is, I didn't write it down. Let's see, I might misspeak about it, but essentially, there are 4 brothers, and there was a big flood, and the flood, very much like a Moses flood, kind of killed off and made a lot of the land uninhabitable. And so these 4 brothers with their sister wives traveled to try to find a place where they could like grow food and survive. And along the way, I can't remember the name, but one of the brothers was like displaying, like kind of messing around, and he shot a slingshot at a mountain, and the mountain essentially like was desecrated and made into a valley. And so because of his strength, the brothers had never seen this strength before, and it made them worrisome because like, what if he lost his temper or something? And so they banished him to a cave. And that brother, now the discrepancy here is that some people associate the brothers with spices, and some people don't. Like, I went onto the website that talked about, like, it was like a Peru historian website, and they didn't talk about the brothers associated with spices at all, but some people did. And so the brother, yeah, so weird. So the brother who flung the slingshot, he was associated with salt. And then some other stuff happened. The story differs depending on the source. And essentially, like, I don't know, other stuff happens to the other brothers. And then the 4th brother, nothing happens to him. And that brother is associated with chili powder. So this kind of ties in like salt and chili powder, which is supposed to be kind of like the darkness and the light, good and evil type of thing, underworld and overworld type of thing. But again, some stories don't talk about it as an association with spices. So I didn't put the whole thing on here, but it's something noteworthy, I think, just because some people do. Now, pre-Columbian tribes of Panama used to use cayenne in combination with cocoa and other plants to induce a shamanic hallucinatory trance. The Amazon pepper is sometimes added to hallucinogenic medicines, also shamanistic healing like rituals and vision quests. So we see that in different places, people are associating it with like hallucinatory quests and like ventures. And then the Aztecs used to drink chilote, which is a liquor made from fermented agave pulp, cayenne chilies, and herbs, which eventually became the basis of mezcal and tequila. Then we have in Trinidad, the people from the East had this practice where they would wrap 7 cayenne pepper pods with salt, onion skins, and garlic skins in paper. So all of these things together, wrap it in paper. And then whenever there was a newborn baby, they would pass it around the baby 7 times to remove the najar, which is the evil eye. And it's believed that if you had a baby that was excessively crying, it was because it had been affected by the evil eye. So like moving this around the baby would help remove the evil eye. And then we have the indigenous people in Guatemala also used it for babies. So when it was thought that a child would have the evil eye on them, they would make this mixture of rue, aguardiente, which is like liquor, usually brandy based, and crushed cayenne. And then they would rub this mixture on babies' feet. Yeah, interesting. Another cure for the evil eye calls for mixing annatto seeds, which I had never heard of, but that's what annatto is. So annatto seeds with cayenne peppers in a cloth bag, and then they would pass it over the child's body while making the sign of the cross. And then after that, they would throw it into the fire because it's believed that the evil eye was kind of like sucked into the bag, and then you threw it in the fire to get rid of it. Isn't this interesting? It kind of
looks like bottle brush on the outside. I was like,
I was thinking the inside kind of looks like pomegranate. I don't know. Interesting.
I know, I'm looking it up on annatto. I
don't know. It also kind of looks like a
oh no, it's like much more prickly. Like when I first looked it up, I'm like, oh wow, let's see if you can.
Oh yeah, I feel like this does a good job of like showing it on the outside, I guess.
Yeah, there's like it's like much more potty. Like I like even this, like it looks like it like see like this little thing right. Let's see, is that there? Yeah. Those are like little little pods or whatever. Interesting. And it's orange red condiment and food coloring. Interesting. Super interesting. I had no idea what annatto was.
Yeah, me neither. Wonder what it tastes like. So now there is a society called the Transcendental Capsicinophilic Society, which is essentially, it's basically like this society. It's very tongue-in-cheek.
That's a big word. Okay.
I know. Yeah, it's a very tongue-in-cheek thing. It's not like a serious thing. It's essentially like this group that kind of like makes fun of people who can't handle spicy food.
I love that.
And so they created, it's supposed to be like funny, but I kind of like it. So they created this thing called the Litany Against Pain, which is supposed to be a chant that you say when you think that something is too spicy, but you should still eat it because you can like learn from the spice. And so this is the chant: teach me chili and I shall learn, take me chili and I shall escape, focus my eyes chili and I shall see, consume more chilies. I feel no pain, for the chili is my teacher. I feel no pain, for the chili takes me beyond myself. I feel no pain, for the chili gives me sight. So it's supposed to be like a joke.
I do like it. I know. I kind of like it myself. I'm not nag about it.
Yeah, no, I'm not mad at all. Okay, so then the chilies are associated with the Luban, Oko, or red demon of like the Colorado's indigenous people of the Amazon. And it's said that this demon would suck the blood out of its victims. And so once it was done, it would leave them as white as boiled yucca. And so the chilies are burned in a fire while being served in food. So you like have the chilies burning in the fire while you're also eating food that is heavy with the chilies. And it said that the demon is then fooled. So he's asphyxiated from the chili flames. And so he also cannot get to the people because the food that they're eating is too spicy. So like if you think that the red demon is around, you burn the peppers and you eat the spicy food. And so the smoke from the peppers basically suffocates him. But even if he could get past that and get into you, you're eating spicy food and it can't handle the spicy food. So you're protected like in 2 ways.
Very nice.
Yeah. So in the American Southwest, 2 nails are tied together in the shape of a cross with a piece of wire. Then it's put into the fire. And then when it's red hot, it's removed and placed on a rock. And then a ring of cayenne chilies are placed around it, and then salt on top of those chilies. And it's said that the vapors will then banish any like witchcraft in the area.
Wow, that's quite a...
Which is very witchy to be banishing witchcraft.
I know, it is. I love that pointed out. An extraordinarily witchy activity.
It's very, very witchy.
Burning of peppers in the banishment of anything, really.
Yeah, honestly.
Okay.
So then there's also, which I really like, a legend in the South that says in order for the peppers to be hot, you have to be really angry when you plant them. And it's said that the hottest and the best cayenne peppers are planted by like crazy people.
I love that. Well, that's like there's one about tomatoes and like women like aren't supposed to like make tomato sauce when you're having your period or something.
Oh, I haven't heard that. That's interesting.
Like it's like an Italian thing. Like I don't know, you'll like spoil it or something. Yeah, there's like a...
That's funny.
I know. A good reason to not make anything, I would say.
Honestly, yeah. Okay, so this is a long and interesting ritual. So this is a ritual from Mexico where the cayenne chilies are like really important to counteracting effects of salting. So the salting is basically like if somebody has like hexed you, like put a spell to like do harm on you. So to cast the spell, so to do harm to somebody, you're supposed to gather the dirt from a grave of a person who died a violent death. And then you gather salt from the home of 3 widows or the home of 3 women named Jane or Juana. I don't know why that name specifically, but there we have it. So then the salt is mixed with the soil and sprinkled in the front door of the victim's house. Now, if you are the victim, you have to do a bunch of stuff to get rid of this, like banishing, this hexing. So if you find salt and dirt on your doorway, then you have to take the salt and the dirt and burn it immediately. And then you have to, on the first Friday of the month, so the next month, the first Friday of the month, you have to place hot coals in a bucket along with myrrh, storax, clove, rosemary, rue, anise, and cayenne. And so you're like, you have hot coals or disc, you know, whatever, and then you're putting this mixture on top so that you're basically creating a loose incense. And then you smudge or smolder through the house. So you're going to basically cleanse the house with this loose incense. And you have, anytime you get to like a corner of the house or a place where the evil eye can hide, you have to add more loose incense on the coals. And then also while you're doing this, you have to recite a prayer saying basically that evil depart and good arrive. And then you also have to create this combination of Palo Santo, eucalyptus, rosemary, alusama, which is lavender, and myrrh. And you're going to put that on at the end. So you travel around your house, smudging, chanting this prayer, and then at the end, you make this new loose incense and you put that on the hot coals, and that is supposed to get rid of the salting. So a lot of work.
Wow. Here's more.
There's more, yeah.
But wait, you thought that the salting was gone? No. There's more.
Yeah.
If you've been salted, you seem screwed if you're salted.
Yeah.
I do not want to be salted.
You're gonna have to work real hard to get the salt off.
And so it also calls into question who needs to be salted.
Yes. Exactly. And so this part doesn't involve cayenne, but it does involve ancho chilies. So
Okay.
then you've cleansed your house, then you go outside, you hold 12 ancho chilies in your left hand, and then 3 pinches of coarse salts, and then in the right, and then rub them over the body in the form of the cross, and then you throw them into a fire. And then it said that the person who salted you then it will return to them basically. But then you also have to say, ghost of the cemetery, may those who have salted me receive this salt, like as you're throwing it into the fire. So don't get salted.
Yeah. Moral of the story is avoid the salty.
Yeah, avoid it. So then in Central and South America, chilies, especially cayenne, were used in counter magic, protection rituals to drive out evil spirits. We see them sprinkle around the house where they think like demons and vampires might come in. And then also like the burning of garlic and other like spices and stuff to help purify the house. Okay. So medicinal. I found a site that listed Eastern and Western separately. So for Western medicinal actions, anti-inflammatory, antimicrobial, stomachic, aphrodisiac, analgesic, stimulant, alterative, rubefacient, carminative, digestive, antiseptic, and diaphoretic. So it's said to be good for pain. A lot of stuff about pain. We'll continue on with this. Psoriasis, acne. It's supposed to help boost metabolism, digestion, heart disease, cancer, blood pressure, sore throat, laryngitis, like all kinds of stuff. Soul and joint, so yield rheumatism cure. It's supposed to help with things that are like drug resistant, like drug resistant bacteria. It's supposed to increase sex drive, lift your energy, all kinds of stuff.
So yeah, like at Sprouts, they were always using it. I think it was like part of like heart stuff, but it was also like thought of that if you like like if somebody was having a heart attack, like it was part of like that, like the first thing is like the baby aspirin and the second thing is like some cayenne, which is
we'll talk about that.
Yeah, okay. Sorry.
Yeah.
No,
that's okay.
Sorry.
So let's see. Oh yes, okay. So then in Eastern medicine, it's supposed to be beneficial for the heart, the spleen, and the stomach meridians. And then I have a bunch of stuff on here. I'm not super familiar with Eastern medicine, but it's supposed to promote a bunch of stuff. It's good for the tonic, or it's a tonic for the spleen, stomach, circulation, qi and blood, all kinds of stuff. And then again, Eastern medicine. So it's supposed to help with poor digestion, warming the body, psoriasis, a lot of stuff that is the same in Eastern and Western, but mostly it's about like detoxifying and promoting sweating.
Interesting acne. I know. I'm like interested.
Yeah.
In both.
Maybe because it's antibacterial?
Oh, probably.
Maybe. I don't know.
Sounds spicy on your face, but maybe internally taken internally.
I found a couple places that said to make it into an eye wash, and I was like, I'm good. No, thank you.
No way.
I think that isn't cayenne one of the ingredients in pepper spray.
I don't know.
I've been sprayed with pepper spray. It does not feel good. Let me tell you.
I don't want that in my eye.
Yeah, well, I sprayed myself with pepper spray. Okay, so it's considered good at treating heart and circulatory problems. So it said that if you feel a heart attack coming on, that you can mix you can take cayenne tea, which is essentially a teaspoon of cayenne dissolved in hot water, and that's supposed to help. But there has been mixed findings. So some studies say that it's beneficial, some studies say it doesn't do anything, some studies say that it actually makes it worse. So maybe just don't rely on cayenne if you're having a heart attack. Okay, so research does find that the constituent in cayenne that makes it spicy reduces P. And so P is essentially the thing that carries the pain messages to the brain. So when P is essentially like open, when there's a flood of this like P, then you're feeling pain. And so cayenne helps block that. It's an antagonist. And so it helps block that. And so therefore it kind of helps turn off pain receptors a bit. This is the same it's the same mechanism that like Tylenol and Motrin work on. Now, obviously, I don't like comparing necessarily like, you know, natural pain relief to like prescription pain relief kind of thing or whatever. However, that's the same thing. It's the same pathway, right? It's these like, these pain pathways can either be open or blocked with antagonists. And so it's essentially like blocking these pain receptors. Now it's used externally as a liniment, and it's supposed to be good for like wounds, for bruises, scrapes, burn. That's supposed to say burns, not bums. And burns. Maybe bums, you know. You can also use it as a mouth rinse for periodontitis. It's supposed to help relieve like lung congestion, so it's an expectorant. And then we have ye olde rheumatism cure again. It's also really good as an emmenagogue. And so often midwives will make this mixture of blessed thistle, cayenne, apple cider vinegar, honey, and warm water. And that is supposed to help with contractions during birth. And it also increases energy so that there's like less chance of hemorrhage and stuff for people who have just given birth. It's supposed to help increase your feeling of vitality because it's a stimulant, and especially when combined with lobelia. It's an antiseptic, so it's good for infection, sore throat, especially sore throat when you combine it with slippery elm and lobelia. And what else? Oh, like I said, it's an expectorant, so it's really, really good at eliminating mucus from the body, and especially when mixed with ginger. Two spicy things. Okay, so for magic, the correspondences, the only ones that I found were fire, which I love. That's fire is when I need a fire herb, cayenne is my go-to. Cayenne and horseradish. And then it's associated with Mars. Those are the only two correspondences that I really found for it though. So it can be
good
grown in the
though.
garden.
Those seem good to me.
Yeah, I agree.
Well,
I like
me,
them.
whatever those are.
Yeah. So it said that you can grow it in your garden to help like deter unwanted spirits. You can add it to love potions to ensure like spicy passion because it's aphrodisiac. You can hang a row of dried chilies in your kitchen as like a protective charm. You can essentially also mix it with lemons, like dried lemons, if you want to do that. You can use it for like banishing and protection. And any time that you're working with like Mars or fire energy, it's a good addition. Oh, this is just the aphrodisiac, especially if you want to mix it with chocolate. So like spicy hot chocolate would be a really good aphrodisiac because you're now hitting it in two ways with the cayenne and the chocolate. Here is some recipes. So I have chili hot chocolate and also banishing incense. Yeah.
Look at that.
I do like, I'm not a fan of chocolate, but I do enjoy a little bit of spicy hot chocolate. It's good.
And that banishing incense is very interesting because it employs mostly kitchen herbs and spices. All kitchen spices. They're all spices because even the dill seeds.
Yeah.
So yeah, interesting.
Yeah, this was kind of like a so I found a couple different recipes for like banishing incense and I did a little bit of tweaking to it. But so this is kind of like a culmination of like my thoughts with other people's, but I felt that this was good. I mean, I feel like it's good stuff. Lemon is very banishing, garlic is banishing, right? Chili, black pepper, like basil is a good one too. So yeah, I like it.
Nice.